mentioned earlier, the UK Center for Next Generation Leadership has one of our major initiatives is now entering into its second full year, UK Next Gen Scholars program. And we'll tell you a little bit more about who's been with us on the first leg of this journey. But our purpose for us today is to share about the project, to give you some details about how to respond to the requests for partners, and what that would entail, and hopefully encourage you guys to move forward in this process and consider joining us on this important journey. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before we started the recording, there's our team. You'll see all of us in our little Brady Bunch squares over in the gallery, but I'm Lou Young, Executive Director. With me in this photo, that handsome fellow in the front is Justin Bathen, who is the co-director of the center, but the lead director of the Next Gen Scholars program. Next to him is Neoma Hagans-Flores, who is our student-facing team member as associate director of the UK Next Gen Scholars program. Standing opposite me is Karen Perry, our new team member, and she too is one of the directors of the Next Gen Center with a lead role in Scholars as well. The tiny one in the middle is Ninja, Jenny Holly, our admin assistant, who does all things well and early. So that's who we are. If you need us, you can always reach us by email. Our website is lead.school, and our dual credit website is attached to the UK Center. We'll make this slide deck available if you guys want to go back over for any details. Next slide, please. In general, what we do is to promote next gen networking across the Commonwealth of Kentucky with the goal to upgrade schools, to improve the opportunities for deeper, more personalized learning for all kids across the Commonwealth, and outcomes for the Scholars program in particular are designed to increase college going and to grow enrollment and retention at the University of Kentucky. We see this as a pipeline project for P12 and higher ed for UK. Here's a list of our why. I won't read those 5 bullets to you, of course, but take a minute to look at those. High school principals, assistant principals, and guidance counselors in the room, this will probably resonate with you. The University of Kentucky was intentionally late to the dual credit game. And I say intentionally because we are the flagship university of the Commonwealth. We are a land grant institution, and part of our mission is to work with public educators across Kentucky. But like all things that Big Blue does, we wanted to do that extremely well and with a long-range plan in mind. So the provost office came to our team at the, actually we pitched an idea to them a few years ago. It'll be 3 years in January, about what dual credit in Kentucky at the University of Kentucky would look like. And they bought what we were selling. And so we have been thrilled to partner with the Office of the Provost to develop this first ever dual credit program for the University of Kentucky, and to intentionally reach out to those districts we think that are ready and are most likely to be successful. And our metrics for the university are these: that we want to improve the number and quality of students who come to the university, improve the diversity of students that come to the university, and shift this narrative to improved college transition and completion over time. Dual credit is coming on strong in Kentucky, but it is not yet equitably distributed. And we think UK has must become a key player in this work for it to impact all of Kentucky. And then the last slide for me is that you'll hear as we go about this, that this approach at UK is a very UK approach. It is not what you see in the Kentucky Community Technical College system dual credit model, nor the model that the regional universities have put forward. And I will tell you that for me, the 2 big distinguishing factors are that participating high schools are part of a larger network of innovation and college going success partnership. And that's what the RFP entails, as well as our approach to dual credit means that your high school students will receive direct instruction from a UK faculty member, a bona fide faculty member who teaches our dual credit courses, just like he or she teaches our university students on campus, as well as a partner high school collaborating teacher who works hand in hand with that UK faculty member to ensure that our students are highly successful. And we are thrilled to be able to show you our success data here in just a moment. Next slide, please. And I think I toss it over to Karen.
Yep. So just to linger one more second on this slide, Lou, you know, this is, as Lou said, this is not your average dual credit program. Our theory of action is that we can improve all of those outcomes that Lou mentioned on a previous slide by combining the power of offering dual credit with the power that comes from being part of a network of schools that both not only support students in terms of their dual credit experience, but also begin to evolve the rest of the high school experience to be more next gen in nature. The reason why Next Gen is running dual credit on behalf of the University of Kentucky is because, not just because of the offerings of the University of Kentucky courses, but because we bring another set of skills and another set of core beliefs about what learning should be to a network of schools. And we want to work with a network of high schools who wants to evolve the student learning experience to be more next gen in nature. So what do we mean by that? Next Gen is committed to these 9 core principles, which we sort of lovingly call the Next Gen 9. The Next Gen 9 are what we believe should characterize the school experience for high school students, all students, but particularly high school students with regard to this conversation. So the Next Gen 9 says we believe that students should be working toward graduate competencies, typically through a profile of a graduate. Learning experience should be deeper in nature, and by that we mean project-based and authentic, challenge-based learning, applied, relevant learning. We believe learning experiences should have high levels of agency for students, that the assessment should be performance oriented in nature, not just multiple choice standardized tests, but a more robust system of assessment. That all is enabled by a professional teaching culture that is high on teacher agency, so teachers feel what it is to learn in high agency situations so that they can model that for students and foster that for students. Those are, on the left-hand side, are what we call the sort of core next-gen learning principles. Those are things that characterize the learning experience. The other half, the backside of the Next Gen 9, the equity of opportunity structures, really ties together our commitment that schools should be a more equitable learning experience for all students, and that when you attend to structures that enable and foster and require equity, that supports the Next Gen learning principles. And so the backside of the Next Gen 9 is that we believe learning should be culturally relevant to students, that there should be high levels of access and inclusivity, the lowest possible level of any barriers to challenging learning experiences for all students. And in that, we include dual credit. You'll see that when we talk about who should be in dual credit, we intentionally set a bar that allows a wide range of students to meet it. We're not trying to be hyper selective in terms of who goes in the dual credit courses. We believe that school culture and discipline should be positive and restorative in nature, and that what supports all of that and can kind of glue that whole system together is an advising and mentoring system that is robust and supports a culture of college-going behavior. So what we want is a set of schools who are committed to advancing these Next Gen 9 principles and offering dual credit hand in hand, so that we're creating circumstances for increasing the likelihood of high school graduation, of course, and good high school learning experiences, but also these are things that make students more ready for college experiences and career experiences. So Next Gen 9, we're looking for schools who are willing to commit to moving toward these things, and we can help you with that. We currently have a set of network partners, Bardstown Independent, and you can see the list there on the right-hand side. These are schools who have either been with us for 1 year or they're in a small handful in their second year. And so we do have some schools that are going through this with us now, and they really span the entire state of Kentucky. We are certainly looking to expand our network to bring in more strong schools to add to this already strong set of schools that are partners for us now. There are some benefits to being part of the network with us. And I'm not going to read all of these things to you, but there are benefits that are specific to your school team, and there are benefits that are specific to your students. Primarily, the benefits to your school team are we can help you through professional development experiences, through coaching, through this network experience. We can help you with your transformation work. We can help you move toward the Next Gen 9. And that looks like lots of different things, but primarily you'll have access to another set of high schools across the state of Kentucky who are similarly committed to moving toward the Next Gen 9. And then, of course, all the Next Gen professional development that comes with it. So you'll have a network of people who are headed in the same direction, and the value of the Next Gen leadership experiences that have always been true in the state of Kentucky. We can help you begin to transform your school, and that's what we want. Over on the right-hand side, primarily the benefits to your students, in addition, of course, to the dual credit courses themselves, and then all the things related to that. They get access to the UK libraries, and we can't promise basketball tickets, but they do have access to the academic resources that are there for the UK students. Of course, this is cost savings for them toward college. But Justin's going to talk a little bit more about the model here in just a second. But what we want is a partnership between a high school teacher and a UK professor that makes this learning experience culturally and locally relevant and supported and robust, but also having access to UK rigor and expectation and professors and all of that. Last thing there's a platform where dual credit scholars are connected, so your students can be connected to other students who are doing the same experience. And then the last thing I really want to point out is that we have our own set of robust academic advisement services provided primarily by Nay on our team, who you're going to hear from in just a few minutes. So we intend this to be supportive to your school and supportive to your students, but also challenging and forward facing in terms of the learning experience. So we think there are lots of benefits to you. In exchange, what we're asking from our partner schools is we're asking partner schools to do these things listed on the right. We're asking schools to move toward the Next Gen 9, which will help you do, and by way of participating in ongoing collaboration and PD. We're asking you to assign strong collaborating teachers to the courses, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. We're asking that you ensure that all students in dual credit have one-to-one access, which almost everybody's doing at this point, thanks to the pandemic. We are asking that you promote a college-going culture for all students, not just your sort of type A, highest flying kind of students. And we're asking also that the district would pay the tuition costs for the free and reduced lunch students in your district, so that we lower one more barrier to access to this experience. Last thing for me, this network that I talk about, this network of other high schools across the state of Kentucky, there are some things that we do and don't intend to do, and I'm not going to read all this to you either. We'll certainly make this deck available to you later on. What we do intend to do is bring similarly committed people together to find and solve complex challenges together, just like in the spirit of a network. There are people who have got things figured out, and there are people who need to learn things, and we connect those people together so that we can all learn together in the spirit of a network. That provides lots of opportunities to make connections. It provides some cover for risk taking for you, there's wisdom in the room when lots of schools are similarly committed to a common cause. What the network isn't is the Next Gen team as the provider of all possible answers. We're not directive in terms of specific models or policies or anything like that. We don't find internships for your students. We hope can help you do that. We don't create the locally authentic projects for you. We think we can help you to do that work. But this is not intended to be a silver bullet. It is intended to be a network of similarly committed people to help move toward the Next Gen 9 and provide good support system for students. So these are things that really characterize and really set UK's dual credit apart from other dual credit providers. We really want a partnership in terms of this network here with you. And so, you know, we just want to sort of be clear about that from the outset, and we hope that we can move together toward a next gen vision for learning across the state of Kentucky. So I'm going to turn it over at this point to Justin, who's going to talk a little bit more in depth about the dual credit scholars courses and the UK side of things.
Okay, awesome. So big transition. Remember, it's a network and dual credit. So now we're going to talk dual credit, which of course, I'm sure a lot of you are more interested in the dual credit logistics. First off, the big words at the top matter to us. We want to call these kids UK Next Gen Scholars. All right, so like we want them to feel identified with UK and identified that they are part of something that is actively helping to build the next generation of high school in Kentucky. So UK Next Gen Scholars, that's the name we use for our dual credit students. So we provide academic advising and supports all around the dual credit. So let's dive in a little bit to that dual credit model. We follow the model that the rest of the state uses around the cost of tuition. So $70 per credit this year, half the KCTCS rate is how that's being defined. So what that means is that's $436 per credit savings off of the regular price of UK tuition. So, you know, it's a substantial savings to kids and families versus what they would have paid to come to UK on site. We offer the program only to juniors and seniors. So just, you know, some parameters that the University of Kentucky has put around what we are offering. Juniors and seniors, minimum of 2.5 GPA to be part of the model. Importantly, no ACT or other testing minimum to be part of this model. There is one course, Math 109, that does have a minimum ACT requirement written into UK policy, so we do have to follow that one. However, to access all the other courses in our model, there's no ACT minimum. That's important to us because we want this to be focused on equity. I know that the definition of the University of Kentucky in years past might have been something that spoke to a small percentage of kids at the top of a class. We want to help open the doors wider to the University of Kentucky. And we think dual credit is actually a great way for kids both to build the confidence to potentially go to UK or any other four-year school, and also to potentially earn their way in to the University of Kentucky. What a powerful indicator if a kid can put on their resume as they're applying to colleges, I've already passed UK courses. So that's a very powerful indicator of long-term college going success. The courses that we offer are all part of the UK core. We have a 10-part UK core here that is like our generals. And so all of the courses align to the generals at UK. We are capping the maximum number of courses that any one kid can take in our model at 10, but 10 is quite a bit. 10 is one full year of college that can be embedded into your high school. So they can essentially walk out of your high school as college sophomores at the University of Kentucky. All the courses that we put in the model are highly transferable. We're also public about transferability. You'll see that in just a minute. Of course, we follow the UK dual credit agreement. All right, onward. So here's what's most unique when it comes to implementation of UK's approach. We are different than all other existing dual credit models in the state in that we employ a collaborative teacher approach to all of our courses. So take History 109, for instance, that's one of our courses. We run it in the spring. we have the best UK history professor we have for American history, Melanie Goan, Dr. Melanie Goan, who's written the book on that topic, is leading that course in collaboration with multiple high school sites at one time. So this upcoming spring, Dr. Goan is going to lead 2 sections of History 109. Each of those sections will be partnered up with sort of 5 high school sites. And so the total number of kids in a course section under Dr. Goan could be up to 100, but those 100 kids are supported by Dr. Goan and supported by the high school teacher on site that you're assigning to also lead the history course or the math course or any of the other courses we have in the model, which we'll share in just a second. You're assigning 20 to 30 kids into that section, whatever makes sense for you, but no more than like 30 is sort of where we would cap a section, what normally fits into a classroom for all of you. And we will only take a course, scale it to 5, potentially 6, if absolutely necessary, high school teachers to implement one section. So if there's more demand than that, we'll just open another section and assign another UK instructor to lead. There is a course shell on Canvas that everybody is working from at one point. There are also live synchronous Zoom meetings. Like we were doing Zoom before the rest of the whole world decided that we needed to do Zoom all the time. And so actually this whole model is super pandemic ready. We didn't actually have to change all that much when the pandemic hit. So it's digital, but mostly digital to bring the UK faculty member into your space. When we're in a normal year, not in a pandemic year, these would be in the high school classroom, right? The teacher would be in the high school classroom, the kids would be in the high school classroom. So they're having a bit of an on-site experience, but just with the professor coming in online. Now that we are in a pandemic, of course, the kids just join remotely from home. The high school teachers also join remotely and they help lead breakout sessions and stuff like that inside of our classes. That's the most interesting, most unique, but also in many ways the most complicated because that has scheduling implications, it has staffing implications, right? So that's our approach. One big staffing implication though is you do not have to have a dual credit certified teacher to be the collaborating teacher. So the number of people in your high school teaching force that can help implement UK dual credit courses expands pretty dramatically. What we do ask is that you give us one of your good teachers, not necessarily like that first year teacher fresh out of college that is still learning the ropes of being a teacher. If you're actively still in training mode for that teacher, we would prefer not to have them. We'd prefer to have someone you've already feel comfortable with. Okay, onward. That's the sort of interesting, complex part. Here quickly is all of the courses that we currently have in it. This list continues to expand. It will never be massive. Like if you look at Murray State's approach, for instance, their approach is they open a really long list of courses. So does Moorhead. Ours will never be like that. We plan to sort of get to about 20-ish courses in the model that check all of those UK core requirements and sort of stop there and be good at those. Versus trying to implement every single course out of the UK playbook. So we'll offer a selection each semester. Each semester then NAE puts together, there's that transfer sheet. So you can see like we just make public, we go into the system, the transfer system and just see who will take these courses. And so you can sort of see what that looks like for this set of courses being implemented this semester. That's what the transfer list looks like. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to NAE, who is helping to lead the dual credit at the teacher, guidance counselor, student level.
Hi, everybody. So just to go back to the slide before for a minute, when we began dual credit at UK, UK had only embarked on doing dual credit at one site offering one course, and that had been its place. So in a matter of, 2 semesters, we've added all of these courses to our model. I want to emphasize that we have every core area covered that are in our general ed curriculum or the UK core covered, with the exception of one, which we're currently working on. So just to emphasize what Justin said, if a student really takes advantage of this model and your school takes advantage of this model, a student could graduate high school and have their entire core curriculum completed for the University of Kentucky. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Each year we go about completing our schedule. This is currently our spring schedule for this upcoming semester. The way that we do our schedule is each semester we set aside, we talk to the faculty, our offering departments, and then also to our schools to collaborate on times and the courses that we should be offering each semester. The courses, we had tried to see if how schools would want to do the schedule first. And what all the schools came back to us and said, do a typical college schedule that we can work with and all work together on. So that's what we do. So we offer courses on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We offer them also on Tuesday, Thursday. And schools select which of these courses that they want to go to start with or to do. We do not have a recommendation for how many courses a school starts with, nor do we have a set requirement for how many courses that a school starts with. If your school is comfortable starting with one course, start with one course. If your school is comfortable starting with 5 courses, start with 5 courses. We've had schools to do both of those. I would say the comfortable number that schools have been starting with have been 2 to 3 courses, however, in this model. And that simply has to do with, figuring out how this schedule works with your current schedule in your buildings. Okay, go ahead, Karen. Last semester, we piloted EPE, History 109, Word 110, and 111. And it really, for us, reinforced how passionate we are about our collaborating teacher and faculty model. In the middle of a pandemic, our courses began in our regular fashion with students being in the school. In the middle of our first semester, students had to transition to being online students in a college course in the middle of a pandemic. And as you can see, they did well. Only 2% of students in our model ended up failing the course. And this is actually better numbers than what students on UK's campus completed. So there were 218 students in total, and 63% of those students received an A in our courses. So we're really proud of this. We were really proud of our students. We were really proud of all of our schools.
And I think this is me to take us to the end. You might go back to that one slide. So we will pause here in just a second to give you plenty of time to ask for some any questions that might have sparked to this point, but let's finish up with the general information and then open it up for questions. So the RFP process, I want to highlight the P is for partners. This is a request for partners. There are no financial awards that go with being selected, except we think you've won the lottery when you get to be part of Next Gen Scholars for all the reasons that we've been talking about. It's such a great opportunity for your kids at Beechwood, at Paintsville, at Allen County Scottsville, and at Frankfurt to have early access to these University of Kentucky core courses. So we think you have a win for your students, but we wanted to be really clear that what we're looking for is partners. And so we have a 2-part application process. And there is a link in the original email that went to your superintendent. We can send that again to the actual application itself, where you begin to assess and show evidence of how ready you are to be selected. And we do not anticipate that we will have a lot of people scoring themselves 3s and 4s across the Next Gen 9. In fact, we even out of our first round, many of our selected schools were showing pretty consistent 1s and 2s, because this is a journey and we want to recognize and honor that journey. And we want to meet you where you are if you're selected and move forward with you so that the network and our team wrap around you to show gains at each of our schools. So you're going to complete the application process, show us evidence for each of the items as you self-assess, and then we will begin the first half of the selection process, which will be to choose the top qualifying schools from the written application process. And at that point, we will conduct a site visit to determine the final selected partners. And that site visit includes coming to your school if we are able and we can based on your rules during COVID. This will happen in the early winter. And we would like to meet with students via focus groups at that time, conduct classroom visits, and then interview your RFP team. So our recommendation is not to let this process feel daunting. This is not like writing a big federal grant, but there are certain things that you will do much like a grant writing team, and that would be to pull together your principal and or assistant principal, a lead guidance person, a lead teacher who might likely be interested in teaching in the dual credit program, and even some student voice to begin working through the application process. And then if selected, hopefully the site visit would be an on-site visit, but we can always pivot to virtual if we need to. And then based on those two steps, that we will have the highest scoring schools will be offered the partnership opportunity. Next slide, please. The intent to apply is not absolutely required, but it will help us gear up. So just like in a federal grant, it's highly recommended that you submit the intent to apply by Friday the 13th. And then we will start monitoring you guys and offering additional support to your RFP team from Friday, November 13th to moving forward. Let's say, for example, you aren't ready to make that decision by the intent to apply. We would recommend that you go ahead and send it anyway, so you're on our radar. But if you do then move to the RFP process without the intent, that's okay too. The actual RFP is due online. Airtable is the database, is due online by Tuesday, December 15th at midnight. And then our team will begin doing the paper scoring immediately thereafter, going over Christmas break. And we will then have identified our top scoring schools who will be eligible for phase 2 site visits to occur sometime between January 11th and February 5th, hopefully on site. Notification will go out no later than Friday, February 12th, so that we can begin working with selected schools to actually implement dual credit, make scheduling decisions, start hosting parent nights, getting the word out to kids and to parents and family members by Valentine's Day. I think the next slide is a call for questions. So we can again, we'll put the link to this slide deck over in the chat so you guys have it readily available. We'll stop sharing so that we can see all of your faces, and then just open up for any questions that you may have. You may use the chat if you prefer to write your question. Otherwise, just unmute and jump right in.
A quick question. Could you tell us, excuse me, tell us a little more about the role of the high school teacher? Are they delivering content along with the professor? Are they more facilitating and supporting?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sarah. One of the intended outcomes of this will be to further professionalize the teaching culture at Beechwood High School as these teachers become faculty partners for us. Keep in mind that our schedule would look like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday. And at Beechwood, your teachers you have to have a place for kids to go every single day. And so the high school collaborating teacher would have the students on the days where class is not in session at UK. And we see this as a real extension, providing additional supports for students. If you had a student with a IEP or a 504, that teacher would be solely responsible for implementing that IEP and 504. In cases of student writing and supporting students for assessment, we want a lot of hands-on engagement on the part of the collaborating teacher to ensure that students are going to be successful along the way. He or she would be the teacher of record on your side of the equation for Infinite Campus, for uploading grades, et cetera, would be responsible for all of the rules and procedures at the school, including tracking and monitoring attendance in Infinite Campus, dealing with any discipline issues that might arise, a whole lot of coding and supporting and advising with skin on happening there at the school level. And then we also hope that over time, your collaborating teachers will actually enhance the UK course by looking at maybe hasn't even been part of the curriculum yet. So we see a mutual benefit to this partnership as well. Just anything you want to add to that on the collaborating teacher side?
I think that captures most of it. We want them actually participating in content delivery assessment and actually co-teaching the course as we bring these UK courses on board. And, you know, it's a new for UK too. And so each course is a little bit different right now. You can understand where like Math 109 teaching college algebra is like, yeah, this is well packaged tight and we've been doing it a long time. They're not super clear yet on how to give collaborating teachers more of a role. So we're coaching them through that right now. Whereas other departments like our Design 100 course that's running right now, they're just like, spectacular. Let's make this all about local design. So let's examine the historic reuse of a building in downtown Paintsville and, you know, or Beechwood, and let somebody focus on, let the high school teacher lead sort of that local implementation of the project. Also, assessment is a big deal. So we teach writing, for instance, across in this way. I mean, can you imagine teaching writing with 75 students in it? That'd be horrible. So that's where collaborating teachers have to be critical partners to really provide lots of formative feedback along the way and do some of the summative assessment work as well. From a SACS accreditation standpoint, the one thing that we at the University of Kentucky are not allowed to give high school collaborating teachers is the power to enter the final grade. The final grade must be the decision of the UK faculty member.
Okay, great. Thank you. Very helpful.
This is Travis. I have a quick question just on some of those courses that I saw on the screen earlier. I know a lot of them obviously connect back nicely to a specific content area, and I didn't have a chance to look at it that close.
Yeah, let's pull that slide back up. Thanks.
Have you guys already kind of predetermined to help guide high schools in terms of what that maps back to in terms of a high school credit bearing course?
Yes, we are still learning some, and we're letting high schools make that decision too about what they want to implement as that course code in Infinite Campus. But we certainly sort of can help put recommendations around that. The beauty of this whole thing is that we get to have STEAM Academy as part of our network, which is it's a Center for Next Generation Leadership sort of custom high school. That gives us access to the guidance counselors. So we usually start with like, Eric's the name of the guidance counselor there. Eric, what should we label the course code as in Infinite Campus? So that's usually a starting place in our conversation. But Nay just had a meeting with guidance counselors yesterday, for instance. And so, you know, in a collaborative kind of way, we're trying to let guidance counselors have a big role in how this plays out at the high school level. Some of them map easily, as you can imagine, and then others are definitely harder. Another part of that, Travis, is who, for some of these classes, who is the right collaborating high school teacher? We were just having a conversation with social work, for instance, on an introduction to social services course, which I'd be very excited about. But it's not like you all are employing social workers in a teaching role in your schools. And so having those conversations about, you know, is this a great role for a social studies teacher to lead? You know, how can we support those social studies teachers or maybe an English teacher to sort of do the job of introducing kids to social services, which is sort of outside their normal area. So, but we also don't want to ignore those classes because the design class, the social work class, whatever, the music class, that's what makes UK strong and robust. And like, we can bring things to the table that other institutions in the state can't. And so we want to bring some of that into this model as well.
And I might add just a different take on that answer, Travis, and that is that that SBDM councils would make that ultimate decision. For example, I know that for Word 110 and 111 and CIS 110 and 111, some SBDM councils in Kentucky allow that to stand for senior English. Others require senior English in addition to the comp or the Word class. Some are obviously electives only. Genes in society, the dynamics of rural social life, design in your world, endangered planet, et cetera, are clearly electives. So when it comes to observing the Kentucky high school, minimum high school graduation requirements, that's ultimately a decision at the SBDM council level. But what we can do is our 9 partners would be happy to share with you guys what their councils have done in terms of how they offer that reciprocity among the courses.
And one more question I want to be sure I understood. And so thank you for that answer. In terms of the students, if, in school districts where you're looking at high percentages of free and reduced lunch, I understood you to say, I think, that you're asking the school district to kind of foot the bill for that, to remove that barrier. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct. In fact, that's a non-negotiable on the University of Kentucky side of things, for very obvious reasons, of course. And so all of our selected partners will receive a memorandum of understanding that's been approved by UK Legal that spells out all of those specific requirements. And then we would get that to each of the superintendents where the high schools are located, and then on to board attorneys, and then for approval by the board in mid-spring. And in that, we do have a requirement that students who are eligible for free and reduced lunch would not have to pay the reduced per credit hour rate. But keep in mind that the available dual credit scholarships can be applied to all of the UK courses as well. So the district would only then be out of pocket if the student went beyond the available dual credit scholarships that are state provided.
Have you guys sent that? I apologize if you've already sent the copy of a memorandum of agreement to superintendents.
I'd be happy to
Could you do that? Could you go ahead
Yeah.
and send? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll send it to you this afternoon. No, we don't send that out with through the RFP process, but yeah, I'm happy to send it to you.
We have last year's. It's highly reflective of last year's, and it's on the website right now. So
Okay.
I mean, we can share what that looks like. All that language stays the same. The only thing we've changed in the MOU for this upcoming year is the sort of the pricing structure around being part of the network and actually taking it down. So that's, if you see that MOU will give you the language that we're using. But the effect of that is to try to make this essentially free to free and reduced lunch students. Now, but remembering that you're in control of the question of how much dual credit do we offer into the building.
Yeah, so in other words, you don't have to just say to any kid, you can take all 10. It's a budgetary consideration. But for those of you who don't have your superintendent with you, like Allen County, so for Superintendent Gibson and Superintendent Barber, and Superintendent, who am I forgetting?
Mike.
Stacy, yes, I jabbed him earlier. Stacy, be sure that you do, if they're interested in seeing the MOU in advance, that is linked to the website. Karen, if you can find that easily, or Jenny, if you all would post that in the chat, that would be awesome. But I would also mention that there is a fee for participating in the network. I don't think we touched on that earlier. It is a small fee when you look at what you get. It's actually less than registering a whole team for UK Next Gen. And as a result of being a part of the network, you get annual seats in UK Next Gen, as well as free attendance at all UK Next Gen events for the year. Thank you, whoever's looking up that MOU for me. I didn't realize it was posted. Oh, there it is. And so make sure that your superintendents know that in addition to, you have to cover the cost of all free and reduced lunch students for any courses that you approve them to take. There is also a small professional learning fee to participate in the network. And as Justin mentioned, Travis, when you get to the end of that and you see the Next Gen fees, those have all been reduced for next year. And they are determined based on how big your high school is. So how many seats to Next Gen you get, et cetera. If you have any questions about the money, please let me know. I'm happy to talk to you in more detail or with your superintendent.
All right, other questions?
Hey, this is Tyler. I've got a couple. Could you talk a little bit about the interaction between partner schools just within those classes? I saw like you have maybe 5 schools within a section. If all 4 of us are in a section, will our students be interacting, or what does that look like?
That's a great question. Justin?
Yes, we definitely want that. Once we link kids from all across the state together, in Zoom rooms, why not have them do projects together inside of Zoom rooms in Canvas? And so that is already happening inside of the courses that we're running, but we want to keep encouraging more and more of that. One of the feedbacks that we got early from Marshall County, for instance, Marshall County doesn't have a high African-American population, but STEAM Academy does. And so they were really excited. Marshall County was really excited that their kids got to work with a diverse student population that they're not used to working with, for instance. And so that is a benefit of running the classes this way, is that it does sort of mix up kids from all over the state together. Some projects run within the school site itself, and other projects can run across the school sites.
Great. I thought that was the case just dealing with Paris. I know we partnered with Marshall as well. So I thought I'd heard that, just wanted to double check. Also, being in Frankfurt, we utilize KSU as well. I didn't see them included in that transferability grid. Was there a reason for that, or is that something that they do accept the credits? I just know we have a large population that do go up on the hill for college.
Yeah, and that's a nay question.
There's not a reason why they're excluded. I can absolutely look up the transfer equivalencies and add them to that grid, especially since you have a large population of students that
Okay.
go there in courses.
That'd be helpful. Thanks.
This applies maybe a bit to Paintsville, who happens to be in the room. The only institution we've struggled with a little bit around transferability is Moorhead. And so we've mostly not had an issue around this and the courses that we're putting into the model. But again, we're just going to be transparent each semester and sort of put that out there, and you let us know which places you want to see. So if KSU is part of that list, then we can add them.
But yeah, it was definitely helpful having that. We just hope to see that for KSU. Thanks.
Now I want to, the legal guy in me wants to put the official legal, this is us looking at the transfer protocol. The final decision about transferability lives at that institution, right? So this is us looking inside that transfer database and saying, we think this will transfer, but ultimately these institutions, when the kids come into the university, make those decisions.
Justin, on the flip side of that, does UK accept transfer credit from other dual credit universities that kids may have already taken and passed? Is that something that you all do as well? We do. Yeah. Okay. I mean, in the same way that it's not perfectly clean, there's no one statewide common system of course numbering, and that's applies here. So I think UK can sometimes get faulted for how we bring in that transfer credit, but we're trying to be responsible to the rest of the state and bringing in as much as we feel comfortable bringing in. It's quite a bit. I mean, you can look at those transfer protocols yourself and look at who's doing most of the transferring in and who is struggling on those fronts. Yeah, Nay's wanting to jump in on that.
Well, yeah, I would add that Nay's the ninja there. Nay's really good at that too, and can answer those questions for your guidance counselors as well.
So I do spend a lot of time with individual students and parents, talking to them about, transferability, especially if they're looking at transferring other courses to the University of Kentucky. So if you have individual students that need counseled on that issue, point them in my direction and we'll have that conversation. Also counselors, if you need resources or assistance in that, just let me know. And we can work through those transfer equivalencies together.
But that reinforces the kids in this model are getting personalized advising by Nay and a team that we're going to keep building out. And so, it's one of the approaches that we are passionate about, which is we do need to do personalized advising for each kid around the journey that they want to take and what makes sense on that journey. Because if you played the college game, you know that not all science courses are created the same. Some science courses transfer well into some career pathways and others transfer well into other career pathways. Which career pathway are you interested in? Yeah. And so those are the kinds of conversations you've got to have to really know which set of courses is most going to be relevant to this kid. At the end of the day, though, I mean, all of those questions are hard, which is why we're defaulting to the UK core. And so by defaulting to the UK core, that makes most things count as a general and most things transferable.
Yeah.
So that's sort of why we defaulted to that position, because there's no one perfect set of courses for every single kid.
Yes, so theoretically, there's very little waste in matriculation in our system by focusing on that next gen core. So that's really exciting distinction here as well. And Nay's our superpower when it comes to really being able to talk both sides of the equation. So she can help work out those details.
While we're talking about student services for a little bit, I just want to throw out to you guys, and we didn't really go into the student services very much, but students do receive additional things as a part of this model. They receive things like I do monthly newsletters with the students. I do individual advising appointments with students. I hold monthly workshops, virtual workshops that students can attend. We did one on the FAFSA last month. This month I'm doing one over how to select the college that's correct for them. And then also we have today is our launch date for a platform for students. It's a college going platform that all students are plugged into and can ask questions and get information, all those kind of things. So we've really not only invested in making sure that we have classes for students, but also supporting students through this process, no matter what college they're intending on going to.
What else? I know we're about at an hour's worth of time, but we're happy to answer whatever questions you all have. Okay, well, keep asking these questions. I mean, the logistics of this are important. The issues around the money needed to pay for the students in the dual credit program is an important thing to consider. There's just details matter here. And as you get further into this and you think more about this partnership, feel free to ask us any of those details. I love that Tyler has already, sounds like Tyler, you might have already connected with Paris Independent about this. Excellent, good idea. Go ask other partner schools in the model already how it's going for them, what's working, what's not working. We're happy to share those connections if you want us to share those connections. So, do your all's homework, and as we can help on that homework, please let us know. And we would be excited to have all of you apply. That would be really awesome.
Hey, Dustin,
Lou said it as if there'll be a whole bunch of applications. We don't expect that. We actually, we're expecting 10 or less applications, which will mean we'll probably try to go visit almost all of the applicants. In the rare crazy case that 25 districts applied, we put that proviso language in there.
So this is Travis again. Just a couple of things that I may have missed one, and that is there a minimum number of students that need to participate to be engaged? So that's question number one. And the second thing, I kind of did quickly glance at the MOA. Not see the pricing structures there was no appendices there. So I think, unless I missed them. So if you guys go ahead and send that so we have some idea. I know we haven't talked about the number on the call. So just if we could get that so we have that reference point.
We can't talk about the number on the call. That's not okay. Is it possible to share that, Karen? Well, wait, it's in my room. That's my job. Okay, let me go open that up and share what that last page of the MOU looks like currently, just so, we're not interested in hiding that at all. Just so you guys can know, what we've set up is a pricing structure that takes high school size into account, because the number of students that we're going to be dealing with from Frankfort Independent or Paintsville Independent might be different than Allen County, Scottsville. This one has a little bit of track changes in it. Let me just, yeah, okay. If I share right here, you should be perfectly fine. Okay. All right, super. So here, these top two lines are the important lines. So what we actually really want are the schools to contribute. So we're trying to financially incentivize contribution to the network. That's where all of our thinking has been about this latest version of it. So you look at your school size up across the top, and that gives you a sense of like the base fee, but we really want you contributing a lot. And if you're sort of contributing to that network and sort of being just an active member and helping other schools and sharing things that you're good at, all that kind of stuff, we essentially just cut that number in half and ask you to pay that lower number. So that sort of sets that out. And then as I scroll down a little bit, sorry, you can see some of the stuff we're still finalizing, cleaning up in the MOU for this year. You get seats at the Leadership Academy. So for Allen County paying for seats at the Leadership Academy this year, for a price that is not super far away from what you're paying already, you're going to get quite a few seats at the Leadership Academy. So from a what are you currently paying to Next Gen standpoint, that probably won't change much. You just get access to the dual credit network. For a district like Paintsville, who's not been part of Leadership Academy in the past, or Beechwood, this feels new to you. But the Leadership Academy seats, and then we were going to run a big statewide event before the pandemic broke out. So that's sort of where we're asking about that, but seats at a statewide event as well. Unlimited dual credit teacher professional development, because that's part of, we want these people to be good at implementing the UK courses. So lots of professional development for them, and then some other stuff that we provide. So that's sort of what that appendix looks like, how it's shaping up right now and what those prices are. So just to be transparent about that.
And was there a minimum number of students that need to participate?
There's not, but from a logistics standpoint, there sort of is. So we don't set a minimum required because we can make a course work. Like let's say Allen County only has 5 students that want to give in class, but Frankfurt Independent has 20. That's fine. For us, that section still looks like a normal size section. So we don't, as UK, put a minimum number on it as much as for you as Allen County High School to dedicate a teacher to be the collaborating teacher for just 5 students. That's more of the limitation side. So from a guiding concept, we think like a group of 10 would be a good number to sort of work with in a given school, but we're willing to work with less if that's where you want to be.
Melissa, you had unmuted earlier. Did you have a question?
He covered it. That was
Okay.
it. He read my mind.
Okay.
It's a good team. Okay, well, keep firing questions, all. We have no problem with that, and we're not trying to dictate a lot about how this implements at your school site. Each of our partners is on their own journey. If you've been part of Next Gen, we take schools where they are and just try to help them get to somewhere slightly better. And so, we're not coming in and telling you how to run your operation. And if all you want to implement is just a couple of dual credit courses, but you really want to be part of the network, okay, we're game for that. Let's have that conversation. I will let you know how I fund all this at the University of Kentucky over time is we need more students to come to UK from our partner sites. Now, we feel like we have a good product. We feel good about their success. We think those kids might make that choice. That's on us completely. But that is sort of we're putting a lot of supports in place, as you can see. And so that has cost to it. And so as those students then matriculate and come in long-term, that's sort of the way we're justifying this effort. Anyway, fun, right? It's an interesting new way to do dual credit. So far, so good with 2 years into it. And even in the midst of a pandemic, somehow we're even surviving through a pandemic. So, so far, so good. We're excited to add a few new partners next year and sort of keep expanding this idea. Thank you all for joining this morning. And please continue to reach out, karen.perry@uky.edu, justin.bathen, neoma.flores, lou.young. We're accessible, easy to talk with. Thanks all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.